Hey everyone, it's Father Casey, the pastor of the Epiphany of our Lord Church, and I welcome you once again to our YouTube channel, The Fourth Magi. So, when you're at church, how welcome do you feel? How welcoming are you? That's what we're talking about this week on The Fourth Magi. So, let me tell you a story about a priest, which I will not name, in a parish that I will not name. But his parish wasn't too far from the parish that I had been working at. He was in a cluster, we had a lot of parishes nearby. And a lot of the pastors didn't like this priest because parishioners would leave our parishes and the surrounding parishes and join his parish. But nobody ever knew why. And then years after I left that parish, I needed a weekend gig, if you will. I needed a place to say Mass on the weekends because I was teaching at Roman Catholic High School and I needed a parish to help out at. And so I approached this priest and I said, look, I'm available if you need my help. And he said, sure, I'd love to have you. You're a good preacher, which I thought was a nice compliment, because preaching was important to him. And I thought to myself, I'm going to figure out what is the secret sauce of this parish, because his parish was overflowing. He had like 10 masses on the weekend, and it was just him. And he had all this help that would help him out, and I got to be part of that team. So I go to the parish, and I might be his Mass, or I might be somebody else's Mass. And I was like, maybe the music is phenomenal. But the music was okay. No, not disparaging the music, but it was okay. It wasn't like, wow, it was the greatest thing I've ever heard or seen. It was okay. It was men's and men's. And then I got to hear him preach. And he was a good preacher, but he wasn't Fulton Sheen. He wasn't like the greatest preacher of all time. So I thought, okay, well, I don't know if I'd necessarily leave my parish to join this parish for those two things. So I thought, what could it be? And then one day I came early and I realized that what he did as a pastor is that he would walk around the parish, the church rather, and he would shake hands and he would sit in the pew. He would just like get into the pew with somebody and be like, hey, how you doing? And he just would do that for like half an hour before Mass started. And then he was shaking hands and kissing babies after Mass. So I realized the special sauce for this parish, which was just amazing the way it was overflowing and had people from all sorts of parishes that had joined, was because he was welcoming. The number one reason why Catholics leave the church and join a Protestant church or non-denominational church is because they feel welcomed. People are there, they're friendly, they shake hands, maybe they have a little nosh after Mass, coffee, donuts, whatever it might be, but people are welcoming. And that is so important. And that's one thing that I've tried to do as a pastor is, and it might be annoying to people that come to Mass every week, at the beginning of Mass, I always welcome people, because that's what that priest did. He would welcome everyone, and if he knew that people were visiting from different towns, he'd say, welcome to the family from Idaho, or from Pittsburgh, or from the next town over. And I thought, wow, you know what? This is the secret sauce. I'm going to try to emulate that one day when I become pastor. And I've really tried to do that. And I think it's important. And I think it's important for anyone. Frankie's now joining me here. I think it's important for anyone in a parish to be welcoming. And so I want you to ask yourself this question first. Do you know the people that sit around you? Now you may turn to them week after week and be like, peace be with you. Hi, how you doing? But do you know their names? You know, one of the most beautiful things I experienced a couple of weeks ago is that somebody approached me and said, Father, the father and son that sit near us haven't been here in 3 weeks. Are they okay? And I thought, wow, that's so wonderful that they cared enough to notice that they weren't here. And so I went and looked into it and found out they were okay. But they knew, they didn't know their name, but they knew their presence and they knew their absence. And that was beautiful. And so do you know the names of the people that sit around you in the pews? Because let's face it, we all have our favorite pews. We all have our favorite places. Even I do. And I get twisted if somebody's sitting in my pew, as I'm sure many people get twisted when somebody else is taking over their pew. Because this week in the gospel, Jesus says something very important. He says, love one another as I have loved you. Now, at first you may call to mind the crucifixion. Jesus dies on the cross. And yes, he gave his all for us. But you see, before Jesus makes this statement, he had done something very extraordinary and unusual. He washed the feet of his disciples. And in doing so, he washed the feet of Judas, and he washed the feet of Peter. So he washed the feet of people who had betrayed him and who had denied even knowing him. And he knew that was going to happen, and he washed their feet anyway, which was his great act of love. And then Jesus says, they, meaning others, will know you by the way that you love one another. Now, there are lots of things I could get into about different ways of loving, but as a pastor of a parish who tries to instill this important virtue of welcoming, of hospitality, I would encourage you, ask yourself, do I know the people around me? Do I know their names? Do I know their lives a little bit? Do I know if they have families? Do I know their struggles? Do I know their successes? It's important because there's somebody going to come into that parish, and if you smile at them and say, it's good to see you, I'm glad that you're here, or, you know, where were you last week? I missed you. So let them know that other people are caring about whether they're there or not. You don't understand the difference that it makes in a person's life. So this week, let's try to be a little more hospitable, a little more welcoming. Just be friendly, the smile, and caring about the other person, especially those that we worship with, because we might attract somebody else to come and worship with us because they realize, gosh, I live such a lonely life, I don't feel like I fit in anywhere, and maybe they'll come to your parish or my parish and they'll say, wow, I think I found a home.